And if you're not thinking of consequences, you know, I'm about to murder somebody, oh, what'll it be, like life without parole or death penalty? You know, they're not thinking of consequences. Most murders are people who know each other, and they are not thinking of consequences. So we could boil people in oil, and if they're doing this crime out of the exigency of the moment, laced with drugs, alcohol, gun, bang, 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 that's the way most murders happen. So we got the track record to show now that it's not a deterrent. How could it be? The warden at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, you know what he told me one time? He said, sister, you know who makes the best trustees in this prison? Are the people who come in for murder. He said, most people commit murder. It's not that they're serial killers and they're all real sociopaths now. And that's a special part of the prison where people like that are put. But he said, most of the guys in here, they never thought they were going to commit murder when they woke up in the morning. And they get here in the discipline of the prison, maybe get a little education. He said they make our best trustees. So we have images of murderers they kill, and they're going to kill again, and they're going to come out and get you and your grandkids unless you give them the death penalty. We don't need the death penalty to be safe.
Sister Helen, thank you for stopping by today. I enjoyed your presentation. Do you think that part of the problem is people are too insulated from the death penalty itself?
Absolutely.
Yeah, indeed, I was astonished when some of my coworkers criticized me for taking a half day off of work to come here and listen to this.
You mix them up with the radical nun?
Yes, I was going to say, do you, in all seriousness, think it would help if these were more public?
Absolutely.
If we were to require that these be, you know, broadcast or on the news or something, people would really see what it's like. And
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What made me think this is there was even a small outpouring of sympathy for Saddam Hussein when the tapes of his hanging came out. And they spent a lot of time, money, and effort vilifying him. That might be the solution to ending this.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. The closer you get to it, see, and the more you see what's involved in the killing of an actual human being and the guards and all the people involved, the closer you get to it, the quicker you reject it. Head of Department of Corrections in Louisiana, see Paul Phelps, and I have a conversation. He says, when it's time for an execution, I got people lined up across the Mississippi River saying, I'll witness, I'll witness. He said, they never ask again. It's the protocol when you see the scripted death, when you see them feel the silence, and they're the guards, they're strapping him down. He's saying his last words, and you see the killing of a human being. This is not to say that people who do murders are heroes. Mr. Broom is not a hero. Mr. Broom did a horrible crime, and we're outraged over his crime. But why is it when you say, well, they stuck him 18 times, they were trying hard, he's trying to help him, he's rubbing it along the vein like, maybe here, let's get this over with. And I believe but it is a secret ritual, and one of the things when I witnessed the first execution with Patrick Sonia came out of the Louisiana death chamber on the night of April 4th, 1984, I threw up. I had never seen a human being killed deliberately in front of my eyes. And I realized that night, the people are never going to see this. I got to tell the story. It's what brings me before you today. And that's why I wrote the books, to take you there, to just say, look at it, look at it. We have to deal with the outrage we feel, outrage that is legitimate. But what does it mean for us as a society? They were about to kill a guy, I forgot the state and I forgot the man's name, but he'd done a terrible crime, and the journalists were allowed to meet with him the day before, and they said, well, Mr. So-and-so, look at what you did, look at your crime. Can you give us one good reason why the state shouldn't execute you tomorrow? And he said, yeah. He said, because you're better than I am. Maybe in books of justice, people deserve to die for what they did, but who deserves to kill them? It is us.
Sister, thank you for your ministry. Over here.
Oh, okay.
I was fortunate to attend the lecture last night, and at the reception afterwards, I was making a point to introduce myself to people who I didn't know. And two of the people whom I ended up talking with, I was asking them why they had come to hear you speak. And each of them had had a close relative who had been murdered. And it made me realize that the most significant part of your ministry, perhaps, is your effort to try and bring real closure to those who live after the death of a loved one. Could you just talk about best practices and what people can do in that regard? Those of us who are fortunate not to have ever lost a loved one.
Yeah. Well, first, I've met enough people now who've been through this journey of losing a loved one. The hero of Dead Man Walking is Lord LeBlanc, whose son David, their only son, was murdered by Patrick Saunier and his brother. He was the first one to teach me about the healing process inside. And you see, it's in Louisiana. Everybody was telling him, Lord, you got to be for the death penalty. They killed David, your only son. You got to be for the death penalty. And he said to me, I tried. He said, I tried to go to that place like, I want to see him dead. They killed our son. He said, but I didn't like what it did to me. Because he said, I've always been a kind person. I like to help people. And I learned it from my mom and daddy. And I try to follow the way of Jesus. And then I said to myself, they killed my son, but I'm not going to let them kill me. I'm going to do what Jesus said. And there are more and more psychological studies and even testimonies and coming out that anger at the beginning of a process when you're in trauma and you're grieving is good. It gets you out of bed in the morning. It keeps you from wanting to commit suicide. But if anger is sustained, then we begin to deteriorate inside. It eats us alive. There's a Native American proverb, the one who goes on the journey of revenge should first dig 2 graves. So see, our society, how can we heal? Best practices, we need to have murder victim support groups that give real healing help to victims. And that means churches surrounding them. The Catholic Church in Louisiana began in the Lafayette Diocese where the murders had happened of the LeBlanc and Bourque children, to have once a year the bishops saying the Mass, gathering the victims' families of those who have experienced murder, for the community to pray with them and to form support groups and for healing. We need to do that all over this nation. And that's a best practice. Restorative justice, not vengeful justice of demanding life for life, is the life road for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Today at the City Club of Cleveland Forum, we have been listening to Sister Helen Prejean, author of Death of Innocence and Dead Man Walking. Thank you, Sister Helen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.